Hi all, this is just another quick little behind the scenes of one of my projects. This one is a bunch of little D&D mice, absolutely inspired by Redwall and Mouseguard, two of my favourite little mouse projects. These little characters are made out of Super Sculpey, and I'll show some unpainted versions in a while. But each one is painted in acrylic paints, a little bit of rub and buff as well. The diorama itself is made out of a whole bunch of bits of wood and lichen and moss and some fake plants from IKEA. IKEA, where all the best fake plants are, of course. So there's the diorama, and let's have a look at the mice. So each of the mice are actually attached to the diorama with magnets, so I can take them off. That was just so I could easily travel with them. Once again, these are made out of Super Sculpey, which is a polymer clay. You basically mold it like plasticine, and then when you put it in the oven, it bakes relatively hard. Certainly not as good as the epoxy sculpt when it comes to hardness, but still definitely fairly hard wearing. This was the first little guy I made, and definitely I was looking at trying to figure out how to do some armor in polymer clay, and the chainmail as well. Happened to be that I didn't really want to try and make a human, so I thought I'm going to try and make some mice. So this was really a bit of a test more than anything, as a lot of my stuff is. I start off with a quick test on something, and it turns into a series. So this absolutely turned into a series. Really like the colours on this little guy. I worked hard to get that kind of feel of slightly weathered cloth, and I worked hard to try and get the feel of the mouse kind of proportions, even though there's no way a mouse is actually wearing that armor. Most of the colors here are just acrylic paint, a little bit of metallic acrylics, and some rub and buff once again. So rub and buff, it's just a metallic wax that you rub on, and it leaves a really nice kind of sheen, and then you can seal it afterwards. So there we go, that's one little character. He's got a bit of a chip out of one ear and he's missing some whiskers, but there's the first one. Second one that I made was this little barbarian character. I really like the way his face turned out. It's kind of hard to photograph because he's got such an expressive kind of face because he's missing the eye. I wanted something that felt a little bit Conan, and certainly sort of inspired once again by that. It's got some nice little skulls on his armor, and I'm not sure exactly how that loincloth works, whether that's a very, very small cheetah or something slightly less large. The fur coat, I was pretty happy with the way that came out, and I was pretty happy with the kind of leather on his little helmet as well. He's missing a couple of whiskers as well, and I made the decision to give him toothbrush whiskers, so they're just plastic bits off a toothbrush, because I wanted him to feel like he was a little bit tougher. A little bit of blood staining on the axe. I didn't want to go too crazy, but he's a barbarian after all. Raw. Third one that I did was this little ranger, and because of the way the ranger is made, I've actually made it so that it comes off on a little base, so it can then attach onto the diorama. Trying to figure out how a little mouse holds a bow, not that easy, and there's some smoke and mirrors there for sure. There's no way that little character can really hold that bow like that. But I was happy with the overall piece. Really quite happy with the way the cloak looks. Need to get a bit of super glue off there, obviously, but that's round the back anyway. So little boots. Really pretty happy with the way the little character ended up. And the bow. Stole it off an elven mouse. And lucky last was this little wizard character. She's got her little magic book. I was really happy with the way the stuff on the belt ended up. That kind of feel that these little tiny bags and scrolls and things like that. It's always funny when you make sculpts like this that you end up with a whole lot of really fun stuff that's just around the back of the sculpt. Sculpture should work in 360, but of course when you put it in a diorama, usually the diorama has a front and a back. So it's nice to be able to actually show these, picking them up and actually moving them around. Really like the way the weathering on the cloak ended up. I think it's got a nice feel of fabric, even if it doesn't 100% work. And I was really pleased with the little tail gripping the staff. The little crystal in the top is an actual little bead, so not sculpey. Skull on the belt, of course. And lots of whiskers, because, you know, wizards have lush facial hair even if they're females. Here's a few behind the scenes pictures. You can see some armatures and in progress work. The armatures just basically little metal skeletons that you then sculpt over the top of, just to give some structure and strength to the eventual sculpt. The Super Sculpey that I'm using is mostly Super Sculpey Firm, which just allows for a little bit more detail, and hopefully you can see that there's once again a bit of work behind the scenes to get that armature ready before you sculpt over the top. Spend a bit of time on the armature and you actually end up with a much easier sculpting job. So once again, just a quick look at the characters on the base. Lots of moss and lichen. The characters once again are held on by little magnets so they can move around. The IKEA kind of plants lose a bit of realism when you get up too close, but you can see some little rocks from the garden there as well. And each of the characters just has its own little place. And there we go. There's a dome that goes over the top of it. If I put the dome over the top, though, we're not going to see anything because of all of the reflections. But hopefully you can tell quite a lot of work went into this, and I'm pretty happy with the result. Excellent. Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.